A Musical Life with Demarre McGill, Principal Flutist of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. Demarre McGill is one of the leading young American flutists of our time. Winner of the Avery Fisher Career Grant, Demarre has been a sought-after soloist and chamber musician. He is also the co-founder of the Art of Ilan, an innovative chamber music organization in San Diego that introduces new audiences to classical music in unique venues and programs. Welcome to A Musical Life. I'm Hugh Sung. Before we get started with my interview with Demarre, I want to invite you to answer a question. What is your favorite musical instrument and why? It doesn't have to be a classical music instrument, and you don't have to be able to play it yourself. If you go to the show website at amusicallife.com, look for a gray tab along the right side of your screen that says Send Voicemail. Click or tap on it, and you'll be able to send me a 90-second recording using your smartphone or computer. I'd like to start including listener contributions as a regular feature of the show so that we can all share stories about making music and the things that move our souls. If you need help, I have some tutorial videos showing you how to send me a voicemail message, so go to amusicallife.com and scroll down to find the tutorials along the right-hand column, or simply underneath some of the content if you're using a smartphone. I look forward to hearing from you. I've known Demarre ever since his student days at Curtis, studying under Julius Baker and Jeffrey Kaner. He was amazing from the get-go, and it's been no surprise to see his stratospheric rise to the top of the classical music world. Demarre has appeared as soloist with several of the top orchestras in the U.S., worked as principal flutist with several others, collaborated in chamber music around the world, and has made multiple television appearances on PBS, A&E, NBC, and even Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Demarre, it's been way too long since we've seen each other. It's so great to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's so great to hear your voice again. It's been some years.
It has. I suspect that we both look exactly the same.
Well, I would hope so.
You don't. I know you just don't age at all, right? Anyway, I wanted to start off with a very important question. I read in one of your interviews that you love Korean food.
Oh,
of course, and being a Korean American myself, of course, this is a partial question for me. What are some of your favorite Korean dishes?
Oh my goodness, I am such a fan of Korean food. I mean, I just absolutely love Korean food. Let's see. I mean, I of course I love all of the standards. You know, bulgogi,
sure.
kalbi.
Oh, you like the meat stuff, all the good barbecue stuff.
I like the meat stuff. Yeah, I love all of the soups, the chigees.
Oh, yes,
kimchi jjigae,
yeah, those stews. Mm-hmm.
Salangtang.
Oh my goodness, you know all the good
soup.
stuff.
I know the good stuff, and I love it. I love sundae-guk.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh my goodness, wow. So how did you come to fall in love with Korean cuisine? I'm just curious.
Oh my goodness. I guess I had Korean food for the first time at Curtis years ago. And I've just over the years have really looked for good Korean restaurants wherever I've lived. So Yeah, it's an important part of my diet.
Well, you just gained like a million Korean fans now with what you just said. So I know there's a pretty sizable Korean community in the Dallas area where you're at now. Have you found
Yes.
any good, decent Korean restaurants out where you are?
Yeah, I've been to a few places that have really excellent food. So I'm happy. Really the people and the food. I should also add the music makes the place as well for
Now,
me.
here's
So
one more important question. Have you been to a Korean spa yet? And Dallas is one of the largest Korean steam baths that I know of. Have you tried any of those yet?
I've been to, yeah, there's one King Spa.
Yes, uh-huh.
That's, yeah, I'm also happen to be a fan of a sauna.
We're gonna make you an honorary Korean citizen or something.
I love it. I love
Well, we love you. Oh my goodness. So now, one of the things I'm trying to do with this show, as I mentioned before we started this interview, one of the things we're trying to do with this show is really make folks who have never experienced the different kinds of music that we're introducing, in this case, classical music, get them comfortable with this different kinds of music that they may not normally hear. So for folks who have never heard the flute in classical music, what two or three pieces do you think that you could recommend to help them fall in love with classical flute music in particular?
Well, I would say from the orchestral repertoire, Debussy's Afternoon of a Faun would be a wonderful place to start because it obviously really, if you know the piece, know that the flute plays a very important role in that work. I remember hearing that work as a child and just falling in love with with the color of the instrument, the colors of the instruments. Another one of my favorite works for flute and piano is the Prokofiev Sonata. It's one of the biggest works in our repertoire, and so wonderful, very taxing piece to play that I really never tire of. And I think it definitely shows a wide range of things that the flute is capable of doing. I mean, it's a big work, but there are some very sensitive moments as well as very brilliant moments in the piece. So I would have to say that I would recommend the Prokofiev too for first time classical music listeners.
That's a great piece because it tells some real stories in like four parts, and we call them movements in classical music. But they're these almost like these four little stories that are so different and so they have so much character, don't they?
Absolutely. I mean, the, by the time you get to the end of the piece, and if you actually have a second after you're done performing it, just to think about the beginning, it's amazing to think how far Prokofiev has taken you through this four movement journey.
I want to just kind of touch on some of the amazing work that you do and in terms of your outreach. Now, I understand several years ago, you and violinist Kate Hatmaker
Yes.
founded this organization called Art of Ilan, which is based in San Diego, and it works to bring the excitement of classical music to diverse audiences in unconventional performance spaces. So, what inspired you and Kate to start Art of Ilan, and what were you hoping to accomplish with the group?
Well, Kate and I, on a cross-country trip from Pittsburgh to San Diego, and we were friends at the time, we're just having discussions about everything while we were listening to a wide range of music on the radio. And, midway through the trip, we realized, we have the same taste in music. We both listen to everything. We love music, period. And we thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we created an organization that simply just presented music that we liked, since we believed we had the same musical taste as a lot of people that haven't been introduced to classical music. So this was 9 years ago or so, 9 or 10 years ago. And we created Art of Ilan to basically present concerts that we felt anybody would feel comfortable attending. And whether or not you're a traditional classical music concert goer, you would leave having enjoyed the experience. And we want our audience to feel okay with not liking every piece. That it's okay to even hate it. But we want you to love to hate it, because once you're okay with that, then you can focus on the experience. You become more engaged, because then you have an opinion, and you can then perhaps look forward to the next piece that you may actually love. But I'm very, very proud of the work that we've done in bringing back the excitement of classical music, at least to the San Diego community.
Can you describe some of the shows that you put together and describe some of the venues, the more unconventional venues where you presented these concerts?
We have several series in San Diego County. Our main series right now is at the Museum of Art, and we have our concerts in one of the beautiful galleries in the museum. I would say that one of our really more fun series is a series called Crossfire. We have these concerts at a renovated warehouse space called the Glass House. And it's this particular warehouse space houses probably about 6 artists, from visual artists, painters, to sculptors, to jewelry makers. And the premise behind our Crossfire series is that the first half of the concert, which is our typical concert length, a little less than an hour, so it's about 45, 50 minutes worth of music, will feature something very specific. Like I remember one of our first Crossfire concerts happened to feature some newer works, classical music works, showcasing the electric guitar.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Right? And then the second half of the concert, we showed a different side of the electric guitar by featuring a local San Diego band. And we have food, there's food trucks, we have drinks, and it is, obviously a concert series that is focused on stimulating a young music lover's mind, and perhaps even changing their view of what they believe classical music is. That is, it's just a tremendous event. Every concert, the energy is spectacular. It just creates this beautiful umbrella of music making. And at least for 2 hours, we remove these titles of, rock, alternative, classical, and just try to just create an evening of wonderful, inspired music making.
So it sounds like it's not just classical. It sounds like it crosses a whole bunch of different genres all mixed together.
Well, this particular series, yes. We have another series in North San Diego County, and we tend to do We tend to do a lot of newer works, but we're not a new music organization. We simply program music that we love. And that can be from any time period. And I think it's that connection that we have to our programming, that our programming is absolutely not cookie cutter. It's really, I mean, we like to call it feeling-based programming. And I think that's what continues to bring our audience back concert after concert, is because they can feel this energy that we put into the programs that we present.
It's interesting because I'm not sure if folks know this, but there is actually a classical formula for a lot of shows and concerts. We call them recitals, and typically they go in chronological order. You'll play the oldest piece first, and sort of the larger pieces in the middle, and maybe you'll have some shorter, what we call encore type pieces at the end. But there can be sort of this very rigid formula that a lot of classical musicians feel obligated to use when they're presenting. But it sounds like you've taken that formula and just thrown that out the window.
Well, basically, not basically, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even with the name of the organization, Art of Ilan, we didn't want anything that would trigger an already established reaction to classical music. We picked Art of Ilan, Ilan meaning the vigor, spirit, momentum, and the art of that.
I mean, what a perfect name. I have to say kudos. That name is so cool. I love it. I just love it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful name, and we wanted it to simply be that, just a beautiful name to allow people to sort of enter our sort of musical environment without feeling, tense or uncomfortable with the fact that they may not be familiar with this genre.
And how often do the shows get produced? How many shows do you usually give per year or per season?
I would say at this point, maybe seven or eight concerts around San Diego County.
Wow.
A season.
And are there plans to expand Art of Ilan to other cities around the country?
Well, possibly. We've talked about that for years. I think the difficulty in that is that we're still expanding in San Diego County and very much devoted and invested in that community. We're spreading our love of what we're doing in San Diego in other ways by our commissions. We bring in guest artists so that we're sort of spreading the word about what we're doing that way, with bringing artists, composers to San Diego. But I could see one day we could have Art of Ilan Northwest, Art of Ilan Dallas.
That would be so cool.
Art of Ilan Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, if you ever have Art of Ilan in Philadelphia, give me a call. I would love to participate.
I will do.
Now, I want to step back in time a bit and go back to when you were a student at the Curtis Institute of Music, where I was actually the pianist accompanying Julius Baker's studio. You were studying with Julius Baker and Jeffrey Kaner at the time, and I remember you blew everyone away with your incredible musicianship and unbelievable technique, even from the very, very first lesson. You were actually the very first flutist I met who could play these impossibly long sections of music without breathing. It seemed superhuman. I believe the technique is called circular breathing, right? I'm wondering if you could describe what circular breathing is and how you taught yourself to use it.
Sure. Well, when I was 14, I would say actually even, I was very curious and excited about all of the things that the flutist Robert Dick was doing. And he specializes in a lot of extended techniques, techniques that go above and beyond what you'll learn in elementary school band, for instance. And one of those techniques was circular breathing, just the ability to play a note, and while you're using stored air in your mouth you push out this stored air to produce a sound. While that happens, you inhale through your nostril. That was one of the techniques, and I simply bought his book, Circular Breathing for the Flutist, and I simply just followed the instructions.
Well, and what were those instructions? Because it's amazing. I mean, you can basically produce this endless sound without needing to stop to take a breath as normal human beings would have to with their lungs. Can you
Well,
describe what are some of the steps that you have to do for other maybe flute players who are listening who are intrigued and want to get a primer and trying to use this technique?
well, the concept is basically it's relatively simple. As you're playing a note on the flute, there's a moment where, as you're actually blowing out air, you're storing air in your cheeks. So you allow your cheeks to puff out.
Ah,
And
okay.
then you basically, after that, just simply, with enough force to maintain the sound that you're already producing, squeeze out the air from your cheeks to continue the sound. And as you're doing that, you're inhaling through your nose and
Simultaneously.
simultaneously. And
Wow.
it's just the tricky part is then making a smooth transition back to producing the sound just the normal way. And I do have to say that although, yes, you could technically hold a note forever, um, I don't recommend using it for that purpose, for just simply, look, mom, I don't have I
I
don't
don't have
have
to
to breathe.
breathe.
And it's, when I was young, I was into that. Like, I would do Paganini's Moto Perpetual, which is about, I don't know how many minutes, 4 minutes or so. And that was a cute circus trick. Right these days, I use it a lot of times just to make sure that I have enough air to simply, for instance, end the phrase very beautifully and very comfortably. So it's not to necessarily extend the phrase past the period in the phrase, if you think of a phrase as a sentence,
Mm.
but simply just to make that ending gesture as comfortable and as beautiful as I want to make, without the concerns of even possibly running out of air.
Do you remember the story you told me back when you were a student? I was asking you, how in the world did you learn how to do this? And you
Uh-huh.
told me about the story about the straw and the soda. Remember that?
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely.
Well,
That's one trick that helps in teaching the technique. You basically, you can take a soda, you can take a glass of water, put a straw in the glass, and basically, using the steps that I just mentioned, try to keep the bubbles going.
right.
Yeah,
I think I
and
tried that a couple times. It just failed miserably.
yeah, I call it a useful. It's a useful trick. It's not necessary, but it makes my life easier in certain instances.
I think it's just one example, and it's not certainly not the one you're known for, but that's one example of the incredible techniques that you have, not just for circular breathing, but your tone and color and so many other aspects. We could probably spend hours exploring and mining, but I want to take a moment to go even further back to your musical roots.
Hmm.
Now, I understand that you were 7 when you discovered your father's old silver flute in a closet, and that was when you fell in love with the instrument. Now, if I understand correctly, your father was Chicago's deputy fire commissioner and your mother was a teacher. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And were your parents musicians?
Um,
I mean, and besides doing their normal jobs, had they taken music lessons themselves? Did they play?
at that time, no. The reason why there was a flute in the closet that I discovered when I was 7 was because when my parents were dating, and they were very young, they were teenagers basically at the time. They would have parties and they would have jam sessions where my mother would sing and my father would play a wooden flute. My uncle would play bongos. So they would dabble with these instruments just for fun,
Wow.
with no formal training at all. I would have to say, though, although they weren't musicians necessarily, they were, and they are still, very creative people.
Hmm.
So I am very grateful to have grown up in an environment, in a household that really stimulated that part of my brain.
Now, did your music lessons start with the flute, or were you already studying some other instruments before you discovered the flute in the closet?
I had taken piano lessons, and I hated it. Hated it.
Oh no!
Yeah, it just,
What made you hate it so much?
I just didn't connect with it. I mean,
Mm.
there was no indication that I had any kind of musical voice playing that instrument, playing the piano. It was not until I picked up the flute and was able to create a sound. Granted, it wasn't a pretty sound, but it was a sound nonetheless that felt so good. It is almost therapeutic to just blow
Wow.
through this instrument and have this sound come out. And that's what I was drawn to. And so it wasn't necessarily that I was drawn to music first. I was really drawn to the sound of the flute. And then really later, not that long after, I realized that this is my voice.
That's so remarkable. You had really come across a piece of yourself, it sounds like.
Yeah, I remember the sensation, although it was many, many years ago. I remember it, and I've been able to remember it over the years because that sensation has never left me. I mean,
Wow.
it's what I feel when I play the flute now. I mean, and I mean this sincerely. It's just it has always felt good. Just playing the flute in the most basic sense is something that I can't imagine not doing.
I think that's one of the most incredible things about being a musician, or really any artist, when they find their true love, their true passion. That passion really never goes away, does it?
No, ideally it really it shouldn't. I think it's important, especially as you get older, and when it is your work, it becomes your livelihood, that it still remains your spirit.
Mm, yeah. Now, as a child, you studied at a remarkable music school, the Merit School of Music in Chicago. Can you tell us about the Merit School and what was so special about their program that equipped you so well for your incredible professional career?
Well, yeah, the Merit School was and still is a tremendous institution. It gave the opportunity to, well, kids all over the Chicago area, but definitely to inner city kids, the opportunity to take private lessons, to have theory class, to have ensemble class, just to be around like-minded children. And as exists in a lot of inner city environments, there's not a lot of opportunity everywhere to experience different things. For instance, things like to experience classical music, to, even if you like it, a lot of kids, a lot of families just simply can't afford music lessons. And Merit really filled that gap. And so I'm forever grateful for Merit being there to give me an environment, to provide an environment where I can fall in love once again, not just with the flute at this point, but with music making.
How often would you go in for lessons at the Merit School, and how long were you attending classes there?
Let's see, I would go in once a week, and it would be, I believe, a Saturday event, Saturday affair. I mean, that probably was enough at that age, but it was just wonderful. I felt very lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful to Merit, also to, I have to say, to another person that was very important in my early musical life. Susan Leviton was my primary teacher after I left Merit, and up until I went to Curtis, actually. And I would say between Merit and Susan Leviton, and I guess the list can go on, and
Sure.
Barry Elmore, my elementary school band director, who, I'm still very much in contact with.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But yeah, I was very lucky to have been provided opportunities and exposure.
Now, while I was researching you for this interview, I came across an interesting book by a Mr. Demarre McGill. I assume that's your father's name. I didn't realize that your father and you share the same name.
Yeah, absolutely. He wrote a book, let's see,
The
a
f- a
couple
f-
of years ago,
yeah,
a few years ago.
I read the title of the book is A Father's Triumphant Story, where your father shares 25 principles for raising successful African American men in contemporary urban times. Now, I'm not expecting you to name all those points by each point by number, but I'm wondering, can you share or describe what it was like? What were some of the specific things you remember about growing up? Some of the things that he taught or passed on to you? That maybe we can even maybe deduce what some of those principles might have been.
Right. Well, I think the most important thing that I noticed in my father, and I, at this point in my life, I know this to be absolutely true, having talked to him about it, is that he had as his number one goal in life, once I was born, to be an exceptional father. I believe this is
Mm.
something that he thought about. He didn't just let happen. He wanted to always be there as a provider, as a supporter, as a mentor for his sons. And it's amazing. But it actually, I realized that just his setting that as a goal for himself has had a profound influence on how I go about pretty much every aspect of my life. Just being aware of what I hope to accomplish and not just sort of coasting by, just hoping everything is going to be okay.
Mm.
I
Being
you know I always I say to myself, I want to be good at this. I want to accomplish this. I want to be as great as I can possibly be. I mean, this is something that is so internalized, and that it's yeah, and it's from my father.
You had mentioned also that your parents were very creative in terms of not only encouraging your musical training, but can you describe some other ways in which they brought creativity into the home?
Sure. They both painted. They were both visual artists
Wow.
as,
Okay.
as well. Yeah, they met in art class in
How
college.
about that?
Yeah, so there were all of the paintings in our house were done by my parents. I would say I don't know if this necessarily has to do with creativity, but it definitely created an environment that allowed creativity to flourish. Was that my brother and I were never allowed to say we couldn't do something.
Ah.
Like if something was difficult, we can never say, Mom, I just can't do this. I mean, it was not allowed.
It was not in your vocabulary.
It was not in our vocabulary at all.
How were you taught to rephrase perhaps your frustrations?
Well, there was no rephrasing it. It was just simply really, there was just the belief that you could.
Wow.
You
Wow.
could if you work hard enough, you could. And so that was a very that's even I mean it's one of my earliest memories. Here I can hear my parents' voice saying that. You can't say can't.
Now, what's amazing too is that you are one of the most positive people I know. You are just so full of joy and just warmth and kindness. Many times I know of musicians who have had very difficult childhoods where their parents pushed them to excel, but it had perhaps, how should we say, a detrimental effect, a negative effect where they came out on the other side perhaps feeling embittered, perhaps
Hmm.
feeling like they were not good enough and having some really negative self images. How did your parents balance the pursuit of excellence with such a healthy, wholesome outcome that you and your amazing brother Anthony, who will hopefully get on the show soon, but how do you think they were able to balance the pursuit of hard work? I mean, because it takes hard work to excel, but not
Right.
letting that bring you down, frustrate you.
Well, also when we were young, I mean, there were just countless books around the house really about having a positive mental attitude. I mean, this was
Mm.
just my father even did a series of paintings inspired by that, just positive mental attitude. And so that paired with the belief that you can accomplish anything, I think that was the balance that allowed us to be balanced, if you will. And so these are, I can definitely speak for myself. I can actually even speak for my brother in regards to this. Those two things, this pursuit, of excellence, trying to be the best that you can possibly be, paired with doing your best to maintain a positive mental attitude, a positive outlook as you're working super hard. It's proved to be a wonderful combination, because if I had to really kind of describe my sort of mental state in how I pretty much always have been, it's that I'm a goal setter. I'm relentless in my pursuit of the things that I want to accomplish, with the ultimate goal of simply of being the best I can possibly be. But I also try to always have a perspective that allows me to, like, every second, every day, realize how lucky I am to be making music and sharing my music with an audience. Like, that's, I mean, I I'm always, I'm just as, like, excited about that as when I played my very first professional orchestra concert. Like, yeah, I'm fully aware of that. So, yeah, I definitely thank our parents for that.
We're going to have a link in the show notes to your father's book for sure. I mean, it sounds like an amazing series of lessons that we all could learn from your father, and obviously evidenced in your life and in Anthony's life as well. So I want to, again, go back to the time machine and go back to 1994, when you and your younger brother, clarinetist Anthony McGill, made an appearance on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood TV show. I'm wondering if you could tell us how that came about.
Well, it actually came about via another Curtis connection. Alan Morrison, an Oregon student at the time. I believe he was still studying at Curtis. I believe he's from Pittsburgh and was friends with the Rogers family.
Oh, wow.
And he made it happen. So that was an amazing time. Almost surreal.
Now, were you at Curtis at the time when you filmed that show?
Yes, I was at Curtis.
Oh, cool. Now, what was Fred Rogers like when the cameras weren't rolling? I'm just curious.
Oh, Mr. Rogers was exactly as he was on TV. Really, exactly. Just such a gentle person. I mean, it's just, to this day, I haven't met anyone with that kind of energy. I mean, he just so soft, so caring, warm, loving. It's extreme, but so real, so sincere, so genuine. I mean, I think that's why he was a very powerful man, because of that. He had, I mean, there's strength, and there's strength in that. That's just what I remember. Just, he is just like this. That's what I thought to myself when I met him.
Wow.
He's just so caring.
Just such a genuinely empathetic human being who
Yes.
genuinely cared, it sounds like.
Yes.
Wow, wow. So now let's jump back to the present, where you currently hold the principal flute position in the Dallas Symphony Orchestra. And previously you've held principal positions in the Seattle Symphony, the San Diego Symphony, Florida Orchestra, Santa Fe Opera Orchestras, and you even served as acting principal flutist of the Pittsburgh Symphony during the 2005-2006 season. Now, most musicians just dream of winning one orchestra job, much less a principal position. I'm wondering, what motivated you to keep auditioning for all these orchestras? When you had maybe one, or even your first or your second principal position, what made you keep auditioning for these other orchestras?
Well, I would say the motivation wasn't necessarily to continue auditioning for orchestras. I think it really stems from the fact that I've just always wanted to grow. I've always wanted to continue having this drive that I've always had. And so when I was in Florida, when I was in San Diego, even in Seattle, I basically I felt the way I did before I had a job. Like
Interesting.
I'm just, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a little different. Like I don't, before I had a job, I really needed a job. I needed to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so that's different now. That I don't have to be hungry for a salary now, you know. But I'm still hungry for growth. And, you know, I guess over the years, I realized that when I'm preparing these, you know, audition lists, I, I grow. You know, I grow. I mean, I would like to think that I'm growing even when I'm not preparing for an audition, but it's just this sort of hunger for, you know, like to accomplish that goal, this goal, this goal. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
Mm.
I just love. I mean, I love practicing. I love making progress, figuring out ways that I can improve. There's so many wonderful flutists in the world to learn from. You know, this person does this way better than I do, or this person does this, and it's just in that regard, it's a great time to be a musician, and so I yeah, it's just about growth for me.
So, given how driven you are, can you envision, is it even possible to envision what your ultimate goal would be? Is it even in music? Would it be something, you know, different from playing, or is it something playing related? Can you imagine or share with us, if you can articulate it, what
Mhm.
would be your ultimate goal to strive for?
Well, okay, that's actually an easy question
Ooh,
for me.
okay.
It's an easy question. And before I actually answer it, I will say this is that as I set goals, like you know, I want to accomplish this, I want to do this, I am aware of the importance of just being in the present. I mean, I'm making music. And so if I have a concert, I am there. I'm in that moment and I am enjoying this music. So I have always been happy wherever I had a job. Even my first job in the Florida Orchestra, I absolutely loved it. And as goal oriented as I am, I've always thought, well, if this is it for me, I'm okay.
Wow.
So it's that's a balancing act.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, the ultimate goal there does not lie in that line of goal setting.
Interesting.
That will always exist for me throughout my life. I will always want to improve until I can't play a note anymore. But and then, you know, I'll just try to, I don't know, I'll have to redirect it. But I would say if the ultimate goal for me is that if I have a family, or when I have a family, just to be able to play the flute in a way that I know is pleasing for my son or daughter.
Mm.
You know, like this has been, even when I was in Curtis, I thought about this
Wow.
because I felt that if I can just make a child happy with my playing, that means something. If tone wise, it means something. That's, I mean, I like, or I tend to like around a soft textured sound.
Mm.
And having this, for instance, and having that goal of just playing for my child, that would be it for me. Playing for my child and having it be pleasing for my child. That's the thing. There's a lot of things that need to happen, even if I'm speaking just about my musical trajectory, that need to happen for that to happen. because children are honest, you
Yes,
know?
yes, yeah. Brutally so.
So, so I would say if I had an ultimate goal, that would be it, because it would also mean that my my life is balanced.
Wow. What a beautiful, beautiful vision you have there. Well, I want to finish off with a kind of a fun question. You're so driven, you're so hardworking, and you're really at the pinnacle of your career. You are considered one of the very finest classical flute players in the world. Now, when you're not practicing or performing, what kinds of music do you like to listen to, or do you even listen to music? Do you just shut it all off and just read a book? What kind of music do you like to listen to for recreation, just for fun?
Right. Well, I listen to music all of the time. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I have music on. When I'm driving to rehearsal, to a concert, I have music on. When I get back home, I have music on. And it changes based on the activity, what's happening. When I wake up in the morning, I listen to R&B. Just yeah, I listen to R&B and I listen to hip hop.
Cool.
When I'm driving to work, I listen to opera.
Huh.
Yeah, when I'm leaving work, actually, I listen to opera as well. And when I get home, a lot of times I'm actually listening to whatever I'm working on, whatever I'm performing. So it's more studying. And at night, I'm back to listening to R&B
Cool.
or hip hop.
Can you share some of your favorite artists or some of your favorite groups that you have that are non-classical?
That are non-classical. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Like, what did you listen to this morning, or what did you listen to last night? Just for fun.
Right. Okay, give me a second. I'll pull up a playlist and just. I like. Okay, I'm a real like. I do like R&B. So I like. Let's see. There's a singer Tyrese. I like Tyrese. Wale.
Mm-hmm.
He's a rapper. Jeremiah. I listen. I mean, it's hard for me to even list a few because I really do listen to so many different types of things. I didn't even list. All right, if I'm up late enough, then I just do this journey around the world. I mean, we started off talking about Korean food, and I listen to Korean music. I listen to Japanese pop. I listen to Chinese. I love folk song. I love folk music. All of it allows me to maintain, for me, a certain perspective when I pick up my flute and I play classical music. I always feel fresh. My musical sensibility, my ears, the language itself, the classical music language, it always feels fresh. I mean, because I feel like I'm very connected to melody, and all of these things I listen to are just they're full of melody. And so taking the melody out of the context of the genre that I spend most of my life in and being able to love it in a different setting just connects me more to it, and it being melody.
Demarre, thank you so much for taking the time to share on the show and just to help us to get to know you and your amazing art better. It's been such a treat speaking with you.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure, and look forward to seeing you sometime soon.
Yeah, we have to get together and play some more shows together.
That's right. That's right. Thanks so much, Hugh.
Absolutely.
All right, take care.
You too. For links to Demarre's recordings, as well as his father's book, A Father's Triumphant Story, be sure to visit the show notes at amusicallife.com. Now, up to this point, A Musical Life has featured the stories of some pretty amazing musical guests. But as I mentioned at the start of the show, I'd like this to be a place where you can feel welcome to share your story as well. This week's question is, what is your favorite musical instrument? Visit amusicallife.com, look for the Send Voicemail tab along the right side of the screen, and tap or click on it to send me a 90-second message. If you need help, scroll down and look for the video tutorials. I'd love to hear your story. If you enjoy A Musical Life, be sure to tell your friends. Visit amusicallife.com And look for the share buttons next to each episode to see options for posting links to the show on your favorite social media networks. And for the latest updates and special news, be sure to sign up for our weekly newsletter. Thank you for your support. Until next time, I'm Hugh Sung, and I wish you a musical life.